All right, and welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with Real Metalheads. I am your host, the Metal God, and bring alongside me is the one, the only.
Metal Maniac 40!
Yeah. All right, we got episode number 3. If you haven't checked out the other 2 episodes, might want to go check them out. So, anyway, without further ado, let's get started on the first topic. And our first topic is.
Well, this is something that's going on that I've recently discovered, and they're changing the currency and they're changing the material, so they're kind of putting like plastic now, so people can't counterfeit it or. And another good thing, it won't damage it. Like, let's say you got paper money, it gets wet or something, it's damaged, but this will make it more, resistible to things, and it will also help. It will help people in a way, but there are some downfalls to this. You can't like properly fold it. I'm not sure if you can properly fold it because I've not properly seen it, but from the
Well,
looks
also,
of it, it looks
like
like you won't be able to fold it.
Australia kind of already has that kind of money. I remember Australia, yeah, Australia actually kind of already kind of does this kind of like a plastic money. Like it feels very much like monopoly money, and it's very hard to rip. I mean, like it's insanely hard. Like you gotta, like I like one person tried. They were trying their hardest to rip it, and then at the time, I was a lot more muscular than what I am now, and I was actually able to rip it apart. And this is coming from some guy who was benching over 200 and pushing up 90s on each one of his hands. And it took me to rip it apart. So Australia is kind of doing it, but yeah, their money you can put in your wallet; it'll fold in there just fine.
Oh, so maybe you
So
can fold this
I
then,
think
yeah.
it's probably they're probably going towards along the same long lines like Australia's got. Um, and it's got a little hole in it, so you actually it's not like a hole, but it's got like a little like part in it that you actually could see through it, so you can hold the money up to your eye, do some, pirate jokes if you want to, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I've seen it on the. Well, I don't watch news, but I saw it on the news and it showed the exact same thing, like he says, and it does look, from what I can see, it doesn't look that flexible. I'm not sure if you'll be able to bend this. Maybe you can, maybe but I see where they're going with this because this will help people in ways because counterfeiting, you can screw people over with counterfeiting and you can screw people over by many ways. I mean, let's say
Yeah.
someone's a salesman and they've they're selling something that's worth loads of money and they're being paid counterfeit money. They're screwed, or just people counterfeiting money
Or,
and
or even like say for instance they take it to some little mom and pop shop. I don't know exactly what you call them there, but you take them to a little store. We're talking like a little store, not like a big chain like like Target, Walmart, whatever. Not like that, but like some little tinier store, and you're basically use counterfeit money, which would probably be a little more easier to get away with there. But of course, the U.S. what they done with the U.S. is there's a couple ways you could tell. They have the little pens that they check. They also have this little seal that's like inside of it. It's a little like metal thing that's they made it a little harder to basically to counterfeit the money. Now as far as yen, I'm not really 100% sure how to tell the counterfeit from the real thing. So I may have counterfeit money. I don't even know about it. But
that is one of the bad things as well. It's not just counterfeiting. Because let's look at it this way: you don't know if sometimes you have got counterfeit money, and that could land you into trouble. You don't know you got counterfeit
yeah,
money, and people will, then get you into trouble because it looks
yeah,
bad on you. So
yeah, exactly. You'll go to spend it at some store. You did think you're like, oh, I just got it at this store, and then you go spend it at some other store, and they actually check it, and they're like, this is counterfeit money. You're going to jail. You
well,
know,
I'm sure the justice system wouldn't exactly work like that, would they? They wouldn't.
America, possibly, yeah.
Well, it's just as bad here, the justice system is, and the police
Yeah,
do tend to abuse the power that they have. to a great extent, especially, you know, all the police
Here,
brutalities that are going on,
here,
recently.
here in Japan, as far as the police officers here in Japan, they're very good. They're very nice. Um, I ask for directions somewhere, and they'll actually tell me. Hell, they'll even sometimes even take me there, walk me there. So the police here in Japan are awesome. I've even told them that person to their face. I'm like, wow. I'm like, police in the U.S. wouldn't be this cool. I'm not saying that all police officers in the U.S. Are all corrupt and evil. No, no, there are some good ones, but there also is quite a bit of bad ones in the U.S. as well. I mean, police brutality is insanely high in the U.S. That's just the way it goes. I mean, you have people who are prejudgmental, or you have racist people that are working for the police department. Especially when it comes to like stop and frisk in like New York. I mean, they're stopping mainly random people, mainly random like African Americans or Latinos or whatever, and they'll stop and they'll frisk them. But yet, white person comes along. No problem. Clean cut, looking white guy in a business suit. Oh, no problem. They can just walk on by. Police won't do shit to them, even though they might be carrying a suitcase full of, cocaine, or heroin or whatever.
That is one thing, they do that. It's very deceiving. You may look at someone and think, oh, that's a businessman, and they, like you says, they could be hiding coke. But the thing is, it's like the worst thing about police brutality was back in them days when like rappers like NWA were, fuck the police. That was
Rodney
definitely
King. That was huge there in the States. In the U.S., the Rodney King, because actually somebody actually got it on video, and of course that caused riots. And with people like NWA, they were talking about stuff that they seen. They were talking about the police brutality and which was going on, and the rest of the world had no clue unless you were there. You had no clue it existed. Now, personally, I didn't until like I heard NWA. Of course, when I first heard NWA, I was just listening to the music. The message wasn't, I wasn't really getting it because I was young. I was very young.
You just think that's just sticking it to police just because, but no, they've got reasons behind it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about these old rappers and what they used to rap about. They actually done it for meaning, but now today's rappers, it's not about the meaning, it's not about the honesty, it's just about bitches, money, and
exactly. I got hoes, I got this, I got that, I got this Bugatti and the swag and the YOLO and all sorts of stupid shit.
I mean, some of it is funny, and they're not like some of the rappers don't just talk about doing bitches and that just because they have some good ideas behind it in a comical way, not just they don't do it all the time as well. There are some good rappers out there, but the main ones that mainly speak about this stuff that are getting popular are talking about this stuff, and it's rappers like Lil Wayne. And is he even a rapper, really? It just sounds like he's just, talking, and he's just talking, and it's bad rhymes, and some of it don't even rhyme.
I know. It's terrible, but yeah, that's definitely a time for another topic. We can talk about that some other time.
Yeah, kind of gone off topic a bit, haven't we? But no.
But speaking back on police brutality, I mean, look at what just happened. There's a few stories that actually just happened. One more recent actually. This couple was driving. They're Latino. This cop pulled him over, right? And he said, pulled him over, and they're both Latino, I do believe. I know the woman was Latino. Anyways, he pulled him over, and of course he says, "Ooh, I smell marijuana." So of course that gives him enough reason to check the vehicle, to check this. They check her. They found a little tiny bit of marijuana on her, right inside her bra. They found a little tiny bit. It wasn't much. But then he looks in the glove compartment, and there's these brown sealed bags.
Dude, we are coming up to 10 minutes. Hang on.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Carry on.
Okay. All right, and finds these little brown bags, and they have little red wrapping around them. And he pulls them out. He's like, "Oh, what is this?" And she's like, "Oh, this is soap, right? This is soap." He's like, "Bullshit! I think this is cocaine." And he takes them. He takes them. But he says he did a field test, right? He says he did, right? Well, this couple sat in jail for a month, okay?
That's
Till they finally tested it and found out, oh, it is soap, not cocaine.
see, that's just this is one thing as well. We're not just talking about you know someone affecting someone in, let's say, in a little way, because let's think about the the effects this can have. They've lost a month of their life, and
Yep.
these things are on their record, and they can't swipe it off completely. And
Yeah, exactly. Of course, they're taking a civil lawsuit with the police department over that one because that's bullshit. Now, yes, okay, if you want to take them in, okay, you know what? Fine, take them in, have the shit tested like on the spot. Maybe a day in jail, maybe at the most. Okay, I could kind of okay. You have to check it. Maybe it did look like cocaine. All right, fine. Whatever. But have it tested. It doesn't take that long to test. To see if it's soap. But like I said, if it'd been a day, okay, I wouldn't really say anything about it. But no, they sat in jail for a month. That's a month of their life. I
that
mean,
is that, and it's
you
not just
have,
that. Let's think about the plans
you
they
have
could have had in that month.
you also have guys. You have one guy. I don't remember how long ago the story was, but anyway, you had guys that were sitting in jail for murder. Um, you know, like not too long ago. Like actually, no, I do remember the case. The case is the West Memphis 3, right? Anyway, all three of these guys were all metalheads, right? In this very small town, and there was a big murder that happened, and they somehow got linked to it. I don't remember how. You can find the story. You can just look it up on YouTube. Type in that in the West Memphis 3, and you'll see about their whole story. And there's still some people, even to this day, even after they've been proven innocent, these kids have spent most of their life. They're all over. Like they were all teenagers when they went to jail. They're all in their 30s and 40s now. All three of those.
That's the like half the life wasted, and not just that. What are they? Where's the justice? Because when they come out, what have they got for them to look forward to in life, and what are they going
And
to
then,
catch up on?
and then you have some people who still believe that they did it. So they have to live in a constant fear of their own town or their own neighborhood of somebody being a vigilante and killing them. You know, like some of those parents, like some of the parents that actually their children actually died, and that they actually said, yeah, okay, yes, you proved their innocence, but then there's some that still believe that. And then of course another case very recent in Texas, these two African Americans are driving and they have a white uh, girl in the car, and they were asking for directions at this gas station to try to find their hotel. Anyways, they came down there because she was wanted to be a dancer, and she wanted to go to this dance school, and so and her parents agreed, and they drove down to Texas with them. And then they asked for directions. I mean, this was like late. This is like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and they end up falling asleep in a car. Anyways, police come up there. They start questioning them. They start showing them paperwork, and they take them. Then of course, they take them in. Okay, fine. Okay. And the girl, of course, she's like, well, let me call my parents. Let me call my parents. And they didn't believe her, and they gave her the name. She gave her a name, and the police didn't believe her, so they put her in a foster care home. And these guys were in jail for I do believe a week or so, or a few days or whatever, until they found out that yeah, the parents did give permission to these two dance instructors. But had that been, let's just say, two white males with a young black female, do you think the cops would have done the same thing?
No,
I don't.
because I reckon these cops were just racist bastards, and they just wanted to, you know, that brutality thing again. They just wanted to abuse their power because they see two with the African Americans,
Yeah, it's through African Americans. Yeah,
and they think, oh, you know what, I'm going to just, I don't care any, whatever they're doing, they could be innocent or whatnot, but because I'm just a racist dickhead, I'm just going to, be a dick and just spoil it for them, and that's one. I mean, you can say that it ain't as bad as it was like years ago, but it's still out
yeah.
there, and there are
Oh yeah,
still
of course.
cases occurring,
Yeah.
and
Look, I mean, you have people that are skinheads. You have neo Nazis. You have the KKK. You have the
how
Westboro
did
Westboro
the
Baptist
Ku Klux
Church.
Klan get away with what they do? I mean, how are they still?
The reason being is because of the freedom of speech. Now, freedom of speech is a double edged sword. I have the freedom to say whatever I want to. And that's of course we'll go along the lines of our second topic when we get to it. But freedom of speech is kind of a double-edged sword. Is that yes, even what the Westboro Baptist Church is doing, and as much as I don't like it, I know as much as you don't like it, as much as people out there don't like it, they still have the freedom to do that. That still falls under freedom of speech.
Is it the
You know,
First Amendment that's freedom of speech?
yeah, yep,
Well,
that would be correct.
you know, I understand, but the thing is, the way I look at it is, it should be freedom of speech as long as it doesn't, you know, isn't like affecting a certain like group of people. Because let's think about it. In some cases, it's justified, like if it's tackling certain things. But this is like a race. This is just,
Yeah,
it shouldn't be allowed. It's just freedom of speech should be, yes, to a certain degree. I think if it's affecting people in society and that,
but also if we drew the line there, right? Just think Christians may say, oh, these evil Satanists or atheists or whatever, right? We don't like their satanic Bible being sold in stores, or this book by whoever, blah 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 blah. We don't like it in there, so then they can complain about it. So that's why, like, it has a double-edged sword. That's why, like, I tolerate the people of the Westboro Baptist Church and the KKK, and there's actually even some cool skinhead guys and Nazi guys, whatever. There's still some cool guys. I may not completely agree with their beliefs and ideology, but I still tolerate them in order to have my own freedom to say what I want to.
well, I know what you mean. It's a matter of opinions, and people do need to be more accept people's opinions and understand everyone is different. But you know, it's to a certain degree. I look at it and I think, you know, even though I'm really against like a lot of things that I see, but like I said when I was talking to you about like homosexuals and how religion bashes on that, and we were talking
Yeah.
about that, you know, yeah, it's still affecting a group of people, and it's like, can you really go to that certain degree? I mean, it's freedom of speech, yes, but shouldn't there be like a certain line? Like, you think there should be like a certain line that people are allowed to cross and not to cross, or I don't
Not
know.
really. I think there really should be, an actual line, because then, like, if that line gets drawn, right? What's to say to make, let's say, let's just pull it back a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, a little bit more, till eventually, that's the reason why I said there should be no limit to freedom of speech. Like I said, yes, as much as I don't like what they're about, you know, and like, just like I don't agree with Christianity and Scientology especially. I completely disagree with them. I hate them, but still, I still like to let them have their own freedom of speech. So
Yeah, I know what you
it's
mean. We're coming up to 10 minutes again already, but yeah, pause it a sec, back on. But yeah,
oh,
I know what you're saying and everything, and you know, I would hate to have, let's say, my freedom of speech denied, and you know, I weren't allowed. It would, be a big clobber, It would piss
Yeah.
me off if I was silenced. And there is one thing, like I says, I can ignore. Like, let's say if someone is, I don't know, bashing on me really badly over something,
Yeah.
I have the mentality to laugh at them in a
Yeah.
way and ignore it. But certain people are sensitive, and it
Yeah.
can, especially on their upbringing or their mentality, they can't
Yeah.
cope with what is being said to them, and they take it literally, and
Yeah.
then they start thinking, am I actually sinning, or am I actually doing
Yeah.
this, or am I actually a, a worthless sack of shit, or, depending on what's said to them, it's like, they're gonna, some people can't take it, and it's gonna affect them, and maybe, yeah, some people should blame themselves for getting affected by it and taking, it seriously, but not everyone works the same. Not everyone has that strong side where they can,
Yeah.
ignore it. I mean, when I was younger, this is only going back a couple of years ago. If people said something to me, I wouldn't back down. I'd be, I'd give them abuse back, or I would, react. But now I'm like, no, I'm really chilled now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm what you'd call a pacifist. I try and avoid violence, and
Yeah.
I don't really like to. I don't see how people say, "Oh, if you're a real man, fight me." It's not
Yeah.
what being a real man is. I mean, there are some ways that I can say being a real man for fighting for something that's right, like,
Yeah.
war heroes and stuff like that. That's being
Yeah.
amazing, fighting for something that's right.
Yeah. Exactly. If you
But
got something.
random bullshit that doesn't even matter,
Yeah.
and you're gonna fight over it. That's just being idiotic. That's not being a
Yeah.
man. That's just being,
It's stupid.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
yeah.
And
Fighting for no reason, like like, oh, you gonna fight me? You gonna fight me? I'm like, why? What's the point? And especially being,
exactly,
most of the time people don't fight, physically fight fair. Like they have to like, get like, like say for instance, me and so and so got into a confrontation, right? They would call up all their other boys, and then they would be there, and then it'd be like a 10-on-1 fight, when they wouldn't fight fair. Or in the States, you have to worry about somebody carrying a gun.
yeah.
You can get
That's one
shot
thing
straight on
about
the spot. That's it's scary.
that is
You know.
one thing about the UK. We're not allowed guns, so
Yeah.
I can imagine. I mean, it must be because I don't really hear many shoot. I mean, there must be quite a lot of shootings, but not like as many as you'd think. It's more controlled than you'd think, considering.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they
Well,
only.
especially here in Japan, it's very, especially with guns. Guns are completely outlawed here. So, and the only people that have guns are two people: Yakuza, which is the Japanese mafia. For those out there who don't know what Yakuza is, or maybe you've heard the name, you have no clue what they are, and you could tell them from like a mile away. You can tell who they are. They all dress pretty much about the same. They have guns, and the U.S. military has guns over here. Not even the Japanese police have guns. They have batons. I'm not even joking. They have batons. And people in the States are scared because, only the bad guys will have the guns, so they'll overtake everything and blah 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 blah. I've heard that argument. And Japan's, that's proven to be, not true. I mean, yeah, could it happen? Yes, it could have happened.
There are some psychopaths out there that, like them school shootings. I don't know how
Yeah.
long ago this was, but everyone knows of this. This was a big thing. A random
Like,
psychopath shot loads of
yeah,
kids
yeah, yeah.
down.
That's in that one town, that one little tiny town. Yeah, I remember it. It wasn't even that long ago. I mean, and then you had the shooting inside the movie theater, and then the very 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 famous Columbine shooting. And then of course, they try to blame, Marilyn Manson for the Columbine shooting. I mean, that's
They try
ridiculous.
to blame Marilyn Manson for loads of things, though, don't they? They don't. This is the thing about people.
And
They don't
now
perceive Marilyn
video
Manson.
games are becoming the target to, to everybody's, thing. Like, oh my God, look at these Call of Duty games and this game, but really, if this was a real thing, there would be a hell of a lot more shootings if video games were to blame. Because, I mean, hell, Doom's been out only since the early '90s. I've been playing it since it came out. Wolfenstein 3D came out long before that, and I was playing that. And and I had real guns in my house. I had my own real gun since about third grade. I had a rifle in my room. The bullets were separated, and not once have I shot somebody.
Because you think, right? You don't.
Yeah, exactly.
There are some people.
Basically, what happened with the whole Columbine shooting is because they were on this medication, this medication for like ADD, right? And this medication was actually making kids commit school shootings. They actually were like there was actually a small handful of like stories you didn't hear about that you would have to go digging for that actually happened off of this Ritalin. I think it was off this certain medication, Ritalin. I don't know if it was Ritalin or some type of
this. Yeah.
And there was actually quite a bit of school shootings that happened in that time because this was one of the side effects. Surprising, but yeah, that's one of the main reasons. Not because even though they weren't really even fans of Marilyn Manson. They had one of his CDs. They had Antichrist Superstar album, which damn near everybody I knew owned that album.
That was a big album, wasn't it? Is that the one where he has them breasts?
Almost everybody I knew had that album. You could not turn on MTV without seeing the video from Beautiful People on there. And tons of people had it. But actually, as crazy as these kids were actually more into like Nine Inch Nails and Ministry and stuff like that. But because those bands weren't as well known, of course we know who they are, and of course
Ministry,
anybody.
They released an album last year that was badass. But carry on.
Yeah, they did. But anyways, I'm saying that they weren't as mainstream as we'll say Marilyn Manson. His name was everywhere, So, and they found one CD, and that's why they blamed him, which actually is crazy. They actually were into Insane Clown Posse as well. They actually were big fans of Insane Clown Posse, but because they were not. I mean, they're very, very well known now, but this is back in the '90s where they weren't as well known. I mean, they're pretty well known even at that time, but they weren't as well known as something like Marilyn Manson. They just kind of overlooked it, even though Insane Clown Posse's lyrics are far more violent and gruesome than Marilyn Manson's.
I mean, what do they call them? Juggalos or something?
Juggalos and juggalettes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, juggalettes for the women. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, this is crazy, and now they're trying to blame games like Call of Duty, even though
that's one of the most least goriest games. World at War was rated a 15 in the UK.
Yeah, it was like I know one of the Medal of Honor games. It was on PlayStation 1. I had it. I still have it. I would have to go look at it, but I do believe it was only rated teen, which is 13. So.
The thing is with World at War is it was
Call of Duty
15.
Not really that gruesome. Now, yeah, Black Ops, okay, fine. There's a couple parts in like maybe Black Ops 2 where there's like some they stick the knife in them and stuff like that. Whatever. It's not that bad of a game.
No, not at all.
Same thing with like Killzone. I would have no problem like a 10-year-old playing Killzone. Yes, the language in Killzone 2, okay, maybe that's a little too much for a 10-year-old, but as far as the actual gameplay, I would have no problem with them playing it. But then like that one killer, he liked Dynasty Warriors and Mass Effect. Now I played Mass Effect. Now the time I made the video, I hadn't played Mass Effect yet. But Mass Effect, it's more futuristic. The guns are not as realistic. It's supposed to be based in the future and stuff like that. Very very story driven game.
Coming up 10 minutes again. Go on. You were saying about Mass Effect.
Anyways, and Mass Effect, the game, it's the guns are not very realistic, and then of course the last shooting I can think of that happened actually not too long ago was the Navy Yard shooting. But this guy, I mean, like they were saying like, oh, he was playing video games all the time, and I'm like, well, that's probably a problem because I know when I was a teenager, yeah, I used to play video games a lot, but I would still go out with my friends and still have fun. I wouldn't sit in my room and do nothing but play video games. So yes, so obviously, and actually, this guy actually had a disorder that was not that well, it was diagnosed, but somehow it got lost in paperwork for medical or something, something like that. And as someone who was in the military, I can attest and tell you, the medical attention in the military is not the greatest in the world. I mean, hell, you get your hand cut off. Oh, here's some Motrin or some Tylenol, or whatever. Here you go, have fun. No, seriously, Motrin is like their main thing. I feel like they have a quota they have to meet for Motrin. Right, seriously, like you walk in there with like a slight little cough. Oh, here's 100 bags of Motrin. Here you go, have fun. You know, seriously, ask anybody who's been in the military. They'll probably tell you the same thing. Trust me, we joke on that quite a bit, but even when I was in. But anyways, yeah, the medical's not the greatest in the world. I've got tons and tons of stories about medical. One in particular is one night aboard the ship. This guy he went into medical, complaining about his heart racing too fast. Like he was beating way too fast. And they told him that say, hey, come back in the morning, a sick call. Well, they should have actually checked the guy because he actually had a heart attack in his sleep.
That's not good.
Yeah, so
I
yeah,
have a lot against like a lot of medical, like they don't know what they're doing. Most of the medics don't, and I don't want to mention any personal stuff on here in case the people I know would probably be pissed off at me and say, "Why are you mentioning my problems on here?" But they've nearly, they're that bad that they've nearly killed them. Just by trying to do these simple operations and stuff and
yeah.
these simple things. They've nearly killed them because they've not done it properly. They've either done something wrong and fucked up because they're just that
Yeah.
careless and thoughtless. It's like, who are they hiring,
I
But,
know. I thought you were supposed to go to like medical school and like yes, there's a ton of great doctors out there.
but there's a
I've
lot.
luckily had good experiences with doctors and stuff like that. Are there maybe military doctors are probably like, well, with the exception of the flight surgeon. The flight surgeons actually have to go to real like medical school, and they actually have to get medical degrees and stuff like that. And yes, even some of the people that work on the military, installations and stuff like that. Yes, but aboard a ship, that's a little bit of a different story. You know, but yeah, trust me, medical was the greatest place in the world after that happened. It sucked. It sucked that that guy died. Like but it's just one of many
It is
stories.
sad though, isn't it, when someone
Yeah,
loses their life and they could have easily have been fine.
exactly. They could have
Yeah.
easily had gave him something to calm his heart rate down. There's I'm sure they actually give him insulin or because I know when somebody's like ODing, I know you give them like this one thing and it helps them. I forgot what it's called. I think it's the insulin or not insulin, but I forgot the name. But anyways, basically, when somebody's ODing, you give them this medicine and stuff like that, and it saves their life. Now, it easily could have saved that guy's life. Now, yes, was he stupid or what he did? He was taking like the I don't know if you know about it, but the hydroxycut or basically like weight loss pills, right? He was
Yeah.
taking those, right? Very like, but he wasn't drinking. Like you're supposed to drink a certain amount of water when you take them. Now, this guy, he was not drinking hardly any water, and he's taking all these like crazy weight loss pills and stuff like that because you have to maintain a certain weight while being in the military. So people do go to drastic measures to maintain their weight. Because I mean, otherwise, you can get kicked out for being overweight. So some people do go to drastic measures such as this, or they'll wrap themselves in trash bags and go run and basically do a lot of dangerous stuff just to lose weight, just to maintain that. You know,
But I
that,
understand why they do that because they can't exactly send an unfit person out there to war on the
yeah,
battlefield when they can't, they're not fit enough to do the stuff. They
yeah,
need to be, you know, perfectly capable and able to do these things. They need to be, competent enough to successfully do, and
Yeah,
it isn't easy. You got to be quick. You've got to be, you know how it goes,
yeah,
and these games as well. These kids that play these games, these war games, they don't
yeah.
know the half of it. Being in the
Ex-
battlefield, it's like chaos. They
yeah,
just
exactly. They have no idea, and especially being like you cannot learn how to shoot a real gun and play it off of play a video game. Now I can tell you from personal experience, because yes, I can shoot real guns, and I'm decent at shooting guns. I'm not the best in the world. I'm probably better at shooting a real gun than I am shooting a gun on a video game. To be
I
honest
mean,
with you,
would they quick scope if there were, let's say, they're in the battlefield and they've got other people on the other side with bazookas? Would they go up to them, get close range, and try and quick scope them? I doubt it. But
I know, like, yeah, you can't do that kind of shit in real life.
no,
If you know anything about sniper training, like they can't even do that shit. You know, that quick scoping shit. That's Call of Duty shit. But even they can't do that. I mean, you got to line your sights up just right. You have to. There's a lot of factors that come into play, even with shooting a gun. There's recoil. Like if you were to use a shotgun, like you have to place it to a certain part. If you don't place it to a certain part of your arm, have it pushed up to your shoulder, you can knock yourself back.
oh
It will
yeah, that's a dangerous.
literally,
Yeah,
it will literally knock you back if you don't know what you're doing, or you
just
can
the
knock your
force of
arm.
the shotgun. I mean,
Or you can knock an arm out. You can knock your arm out of socket if you don't have in the correct
yeah,
spot. A 357 Magnum, that has some recoil to it, so you have to have a certain kind of stance, certain kind of everything. It's not just pull the trigger, push R1 or LB or RB or whatever it is in Xbox, I forgot, but whatever. It's not that easy, and even
no,
to pull
it's
the
not.
trigger, even they say, oh, it's kind of violence desensitizes you, and da, da, da. I've seen real death. I've seen that, and it's very hard to watch. It's very hard to see, to know that somebody physically is dying. You know, it's
I
very
do want to mention this.
even as much as gory movies I've seen, the gory music I love. I that's all like just it's all just made up. It's all fantasy stuff. I wouldn't say it's a fantasy of somebody's or mine, but it's made up. It's not real. So like I love watching the realistic looking gore, knowing that it's somebody's not dying on there. It just looks real. But then when you're watching the real thing, you're just like somebody's really dying. It's
It's
not.
crazy, isn't it? When you
Yeah,
see it on the
exactly.
game or on the movies, you think,
Yeah, exactly.
but then like you just says, it can
Like,
be effective, like to your mental health. It can really affect you. But
yeah.
hang on, I'll just stop it a second, put it back on record. Go on, you were saying.
All right. All right. Anyways, as much stuff as I've seen, it really has not desensitized me. I've seen the real stuff and I've seen the fake stuff, and I tell you, the real stuff is still hard to watch. I mean, hell, if I were to tell some of you guys to watch some of these movies that I've seen who don't like really gory films, you would probably watch and probably be grossed out. But to me, I could sit down, have a meal, and watch, Cannibal Holocaust just fine.
Because when you've seen it in real life, it's like
Yeah,
nothing. A
exactly.
movie like that.
You see real life, or even watching a video that you on the internet that is 100% real. It's very hard to watch. You know. Um,
It's another thing though, like bands that talk a lot about war, they always go for the cliches, like the
yeah,
obvious shit. But then there are
yeah,
bands that bring up some new stuff. Like some people are like, oh, a thrash metal band talking about war. Oh, how original. But then I look at some of the lyrics to some bands. They're actually bringing something about war that's different. Like
yeah.
Onslaught was
Like a
talking about.
Slayer, like Slayer did on Christ Illusion. I know a lot of people didn't like that album, but anyway, the song Jihad, right? The song is actually looking through the war of what's going on, right, in Afghanistan at the time, and looking at it through the terrorists' point of view. You know,
Yeah,
that's
not many people do that.
different.
And
And
with
funny thing is, they actually won a Grammy for it.
well, to be honest, not many people talk about it from their perspective, do they?
Yeah,
It's more about like the good, like good team perspective, like
yeah, yeah. Or
But
like when people were tripping out when the Medal of Honor Warfighter came out, and you could play as the Taliban, in there, and they had to change the name from Taliban to I think opposition or something like that, or opposing force. I think it's they changed the name. The only thing is they refuse to sell it on a military base because you can play as the Taliban. Like, wait a minute. There always has to be a good person and a bad person in a video game. And when you're playing a multiplayer online, there always has to be an opposite team from you. You all can't play on the good team,
so one of the teams are forced to play as the Taliban.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
I
You can
don't know
play as
too much on the Taliban. Are they like a terrorist group then?
yeah. They're the
Yeah,
ones,
yeah,
the ones that did like the 9/11 stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
well, of course, we're probably going to get some people and be like, no, it was the U.S. government. It was George Bush who did the
Oh,
9/11.
South
And then,
Park was
yeah,
ripping on that.
we're probably gonna have that if some 9/11 conspiracy, happens to come across this part. We're probably gonna see it in the comments section. They're gonna talk about it. Whatever. You're wasting your time. Don't
South
bother. I'm
Park was
gonna
proper
laugh at
ripping on
comment.
that though, like
If
what you just
you,
mentioned. They were
yeah,
proper ripping on it about like because they were pretending that actual like government were pretending that they
yeah,
actually did plan it when they didn't because they wanted to show that they have authority and they
yeah,
they know what they're doing and they it's crazy. But with Onslaught, like I says, they're doing songs about like this one about like children that get involved into war and how they send children strapped with a bomb
yeah,
and they use children as
yeah.
suicide bombers, and it's like fucking hell, that's extreme, isn't it? Being
Yeah,
a
yeah. That's
child.
exactly. I remember hearing about stories about people like they were like talking about that. They're actually we're actually there when it went down. Like they talk about little kids. They have toys and they look like they're need some help, and then a soldier comes up, tries helping them, boom, kills them. You know,
It,
I mean
it is
that's just
sad, isn't it? It's
yeah,
but with war, like I says about children as well being involved, that people just think war is just you shoot the enemy and that's
yeah.
it. But no, that
There's a
you
lot.
come
There's a
across
lot more.
innocent people in war. You have
Exactly. There's
you,
tons of people that have lost their stuff. Hell, I mean, there's this one band that was over there. I don't remember if they're from Afghanistan or they're from one of the countries over there where the war's going on. Anyways, I mean, this is the major casualty. I mean, this is I mean, they talk about because they had a jam space. They had all their equipment in one place. I mean, it's hard. They were talking about how hard it is to get even an electric guitar over there. How hard it is and how expensive it actually is to get one, and drum sets and whatever, and they had all their equipment in one space, and that the bombs went by that space and it blew up everything. So not only do people lose lives, people lose prized possessions. I mean, these guys love their instruments. I mean, you and
yeah,
me are
you got
both
to think about how
musicians.
poor that country
you
must
know
be.
we we know, like, exactly what it is. So I mean,
I
so not
mean, we're
only
not as involved in it as much because we bring the war into their country. The war
yeah,
happens into their country. If the
yeah,
was coming here and they came here, we'd be affected. But
yeah,
mostly, because not people just think every person from Afghanistan and all these countries are
yeah.
all the same, but there are innocent people there,
Yeah, there's
and
a
they
lot,
are
lot of
involved in
innocent
it.
people that have lost lives because of some war that's been going on. It's been going on for
And
quite
what was
some time.
this one over oil as well?
Yeah,
That was extreme. It's like
yeah,
over oil,
yeah,
seriously.
yeah,
It's just proves how greedy, people are these days and how they'll take people's lives for money. And they were
yeah,
misleading people. They were saying, no,
yeah,
you're fighting for another reason, but really they were
yeah, yeah,
fighting for the oil for them. It's like, you know, I think Slayer did a song on that, and that was
yeah,
American or something.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah,
on their Will
yeah,
Painted Blood album. They were talking about the oil and
yeah,
about that shit, and it's it's not good, is it? It is fucked up the world and everything that goes on. It's like there's no justified reasons for these
Yeah.
things, and people have to think as well, about how easy they have it, like
Yeah,
countries
exactly.
like
Like
mine, and
I see these posts on like like 9gag or whatever. Post people probably like posting there like, oh, first world problem, you know, is basically like, oh, I didn't get the new mommy and daddy didn't get me the new iPhone or the new iPad. I got the previous model or something like that, or I got an off brand,
see,
you
I've
know.
always thought, what if we put them sort of people in third world
Yeah,
countries and see how
like
they'd
seriously,
survive?
yeah,
They
yeah,
would,
yeah.
they would hate it.
Oh
And
yeah.
there was this comedy. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but it's called Turtle in Trouble, and it's like an animation thing. It's like comedy, and even though it's comedy, they do mention like it's a cheesy song, but it actually has like some, good points, good valid points, because they're
Yeah,
there on the bus playing like the games console, and he's singing about you should be happy that you've just got that games console. That should be enough for
yeah,
you, really, because they have nothing down there to occupy themselves, and food and
yeah,
everything, and places like Africa,
yeah.
and it's like,
Like they're like this one school where actually for like a whole like I think for like 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, they were having their kids like basically instead of like like basically kind of trying to show them like how much better they have, right? Basically they were donating money to the Philippine Relief Foundation, basically to help get them clean water and stuff like this. Our people like for them and also for like other unfortunate places in like Africa or stuff like that. Basically, this money was going to go towards that, and they basically said, "Hey, the money that you spend towards maybe a Coke or a soda or whatever, or pop, whatever you want to call it, basically put that money towards this jar, which would be in your classroom, and that money will go towards this relief foundation." And then you will not drink soda or stuff like that while you're here. You will do only water, that way so you can appreciate it more. you know
I mean,
Happened
that's
at
the
one school.
thing.
My friend was working at that school, and he was telling me about that. So I was like, wow, that's kind of cool, actually. That's kind of cool to make the kids, and people who work there. Everybody who works there drink nothing but water for that next few weeks while you're there. And you basically, whatever money you were going to spend on soda or Red Bull or Monster or whatever, and or coffee or whatever, and give that money to the Relief Foundation. Now they did actually raise quite a bit of money. Actually, their goal they met their goal, which was about $5,000 or
Coming
fifty
up to
thousand.
10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, this is really annoying, isn't it? Go on, go on.
Okay. And basically, they reached their goal, which was 500,000 yen. I know that sounds like a lot of money to a lot of people, but basically that's about $5,000, a little bit over $5,000. So I mean, still, it's money that they raised, and they're basically teaching the kids. They basically appreciate that these kids can't go to go walk to a convenience, go walk to 7-Eleven. I can name off a dozen other stores that are just here in Japan, but I'm pretty sure most everybody knows 7-Eleven. Um, just an example. They can't just walk into 7-Eleven and go buy Coke or a water and go buy clean water to drink, something you take for granted. These people have to go to wells, and this money we're gonna help to build wells in some countries and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of cool for them to do that.
No, I do see these advertisements, and they're like, this kid has to walk so many miles to the
Yeah,
water, and it's like,
yeah,
why don't they move closer to it or something? And then it's like, and they're drinking really dirty water, but there's techniques to filter water.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was
Exactly.
watching a thing,
What's
and
the
you
you
dig
have to
up,
boil it. You have to boil it. You boil
yeah,
it, and
and there's ways
but
of,
still,
if you dig it up as well, like you dig up near it, and then it
yeah,
comes
yeah,
through, and you can filter it in ways like that. I don't know
yeah,
who it was, but it was this. there was this guy, and he's basically showing you survival techniques. It was a whole
Yeah.
show on it. Like if you were stranded on an island nowhere, you had
Yeah.
nothing. This is how you'd survive, and he was showing all these techniques and stuff, and
Hmm.
it's pretty weird. But yeah, go on. You were saying.
Yeah, so basically that was pretty much it. They help raise money, help give these children, kind of show them like to don't take what you have for granted. Because I seriously I don't definitely don't take for granted anything that I own. Because basically I had to work for pretty much majority of my stuff. That I own. I've had to work. You know, bust my ass. I didn't come from no poor family. No, by all means, no. I come from a poor family, but yet I still had to work. And I'm glad my parents, made me. I have a strong work ethic now. Because of them making me work. I didn't get stuff just handed to me for free. Even when I was a little kid, I was like, I was maybe around 10, and I wanted the Super Nintendo, which was out. Well, I had to earn it. I had to bust my ass.
Yeah,
Get
I
it.
bust my ass off just attending my education, and then I get everything I want as long
Yeah,
as I'm
yeah, yeah.
going to
I
education.
had to do school, and I started to do other work on top of it. To earn, like what I wanted. I wasn't just handed. I wasn't just given an allowance. For free. Just So
People
I
should be
basically
happy
I'm
about
really glad.
education too. The
Yeah,
fact that we have education. I know
yeah, exactly.
education here is shit and it's gone really
They were
downhill.
explaining that, yeah, they were explaining these kids, most of these kids can't even go to school. They have to work their ass off, harder than you've ever worked in your entire life. Your hardest job is waking up, putting on your clothes, and go to school. That's your hardest job. you know
Well, the thing is, it's like the education here, it is good, but it's bad
yeah,
in a way because
it's trust me,
kids.
it's definitely probably better than what I had.
Well, the thing is, it's like you can't. There's a lot of like teenagers that are wrapped up in like the media, like the stuff the media forces on them, like all this shit.
Yeah,
Like the music and everything. Yeah, they want to be a rebel, as they call it.
yeah,
Wow, I'm being a rebel by not having any education and turning out to be that incompetent that I can't do fuck all for myself and I will have no qualifications. They don't pay attention, and it's
yeah,
like the
exactly.
education system shitters and they don't
Education
encourage them.
is more important now than ever. Like even like my even like my grandparents when they were alive, right? Education was not so important. There's plenty of times where people basically didn't even finish high school. Because they had to work. They had to work.
They
To
had
the
to work to get money, didn't
Yeah,
they?
exactly. But what my grandmother did, right? She hadn't finished high school, right? Um, but later on down the road, she was like, I do believe around her like 70s, and she went to high school. I mean, she went to community college but she still got her high school diploma even after being out of school forever and a day. She still went back and got it. Even though she was retired, she had no reason to go back. You know,
Maybe
yeah,
she
yeah.
just wanted to
No,
learn some stuff. I mean,
I
some people just get bored in their life and they want to learn things, just learn
Yeah,
something new.
exactly. I had to go above and beyond, what they were teaching me in school, because the school system just wasn't that great in, where I'm from. It just was not good at all. It was probably one of the lowest in the country. So I spent time, researching more stuff outside of school, and learning stuff that they would never have taught me in school,
See, that's the thing I've noticed. Learning yourself, you kind of learn it better, learn yourself. Like, you've turned out pretty intelligent and you have a great way of,
Yeah,
getting your opinion out there on things because you've researched stuff yourself and you've just got your knowledge by yourself. And
yeah,
that's how I've kind of done it. I couldn't, like, I could read and write, but not properly. I've had to learn myself to,
yeah,
get my grammar, and then I've had to work on other things like, understanding certain things and researching. And that book that I'm reading at the moment, it's stuff like that. like reading more complicated things,
Yeah.
just learning like that. But
Yeah.
it's because like back, like I says, when I was like, we're talking when I was like 14, when I was attending like my education, back
Yeah.
then. Everyone like says that these were ages from. Actually, the ages are pretty surprising. They're going from age 10 to 18, and they never paid attention, and I never paid attention back then. But now that the last couple of years, I've kind of thought to myself, what am I doing? I've wasted all them years fucking about, and I've learned nothing from it, and I've got to get my act together and, you know, learning myself. And I've said to myself, fuck the education system. You can learn yourself. It's not hard.
Yeah.
You can pick
Exactly.
up on things. And they don't offer everything. I feel as if they don't offer enough now. There's so many different, you know, jobs and career paths that you can take, and they're
Yeah.
only, giving you a certain amount of options. Like, there's not
Yeah.
enough options there for people. And it's not just that, it's like, there's so much, there's so many, like, things based around, IT and, you know, stuff like on the technical
Yeah.
side now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't offer you much. It's just offering you basic computer skills, like how to do a PowerPoint, how to do stuff like that, and
Yeah.
how to make like a little game. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, what
Well, of
what
course,
it,
of course, you go to a trade school. A trade school, on the other hand, will teach you that stuff like Full Sail out of Florida. They specialized in like showing you, like how to make, the video games of now, how to do, music recording. If that's really what you wanted to go into, that we need to go to like a trade school. But like you're saying, like a regular school, they're not gonna go too far in depth into a lot of that stuff.
yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you mean. Well, we're coming up to another 10-minute mark here, so
All right, so let's
sorry
move on to the
about.
next topic. All right, and we're moving right along to our next topic. Our next topic is I'm going to talk really briefly about this person because I feel like this is more of a marketing campaign than anything else. But anyways, it's the Duck Dynasty and the main guy, which I don't remember his name because I don't give two flying fucks about this show. Anyways, basically in GQ magazine, they asked him what he thought about homosexuality, and he basically gave, a typical, old school redneck, good old boy response. Now, this is not a bashing. Now, when clarify one thing before we move on with this, the whole ordeal is that not all rednecks are, country good old boys and stuff like that. Because I've known quite a bit of them, you know. I had quite a bit of friends that were like that, and no, they don't all think like this. So when I start, saying stuff like redneck and stuff like that, I start talking about him. I'm just talking about him or people that associate or that are like him. Same thing along the lines of Christianity and Christians. I've known a lot of Christians. I have a lot of friends. I've had a lot of friends who've been Christian. I've got along just fine with them. Um, so basically, when I start talking about Christianity or start talking about it, it's just not going to be pertaining about you. If you do fall in this category in which we are talking about, then yes, this video is about you. Or sorry, not video, but this audio is about you because we're not doing a video. So, but anyways, the Duck Dynasty is supposedly, like, I have never heard of this show, and now magically I've heard of it because of this. This is the reason I think it's a marketing campaign for the TV show. Basically the Duck Dynasty, basically it's about a store that sells hunting equipment for hunting ducks. Now, I don't give two shits about hunting. I don't care if you do it. You do it. That's fine. Good on you. I've never been hunting, and I never will be hunting. And especially when it comes to hunting ducks, I don't give two flying fucks if you hunt ducks. And yes, I just rhymed, and I don't care. But anyways, I don't care about duck hunting. So why would I want to watch a goddamn show about people I could go back home and probably see this stuff in person? That's the main reason I feel about it. So I'm like, from what I've read about the show, and And basically, him giving his response, he did, which I'm not going to repeat because I would have to translate for some of our audience out there, his stupidity. Um, Basically, summing it up, basically comparing like adulterers, and you'd be like, oh, you start sleeping around with this woman and that woman, and then you start sleeping around with these guys, and start basically comparing homosexuality and terrorism in the same sentence. Like, wait, what? So we go from talking about homosexuals to terrorists? What the fuck? All right, and basically the last thing he basically said is talking about there's more going on with a woman than there is with a man. He's like, oh, it's logical, my man, logical. I'm like, and really that's really what he said. The like thing he's like, and then some people were saying comparing him to like basically, oh, he's telling the truth from the Bible and da da da, and oh, he's just trying to save people's lives, okay. And I'm like, really? Like, and they compared to someone like like a Rosa Parks. I'm like, really? But all in all, I don't want to talk too much about him because this is like just a typical down south, good old boy, way of thinking. And as I said, not all think like this. He does not speak for everybody. So I'm just talking about the people that think like him. You know,
It's
and
the
basically, we're
that
moving
go on.
lines of people that just cherry pick the Bible and basically use it as a weapon for their own self hatred towards a certain group of people. You know,
But yeah, like what I was gonna say is you're not generalizing any like type of person. There are the stereotypes, and unfortunately, this dickhead is a stereotype. And like you were saying about, you know, people, saying, oh, he's speaking out for like all, the religious people, and he's just trying to save people. And how the fuck can you praise someone who's saying the most dumbest shit, that a homosexual person is the same as a terrorist? What This worries me. If people are praising the words that are coming from this fucking moron, and that they think what he's saying is gold, that it's absolute inspirational, an absolute inspirational quote that'll go down in history. Generations and generations will remember what this guy said. It's just ridiculous. Why the fuck would you even acknowledge and praise something that, comes out of this guy's mouth? He obviously doesn't know what the fuck he's going on about. He obviously, he must be drunk. He must be either on drugs, drunk, or just mentally retarded. He
he's
obviously needs
probably on,
help.
he's probably on that. He's probably on that moonshine. But like I said before, I really think this is like a marketing campaign for A&E. Yeah, I know this is a fucked up way for marketing campaign, but I mean, think about it. You're doing a show, with a bunch of rednecks and good old boys. I mean, why not get something that they would say in there? Help drive more people to watch the show or want to check out the show. Now A&E, they have quote unquote suspended him, which I really don't think they have. I'm pretty sure he's probably still paid from the show. I mean, how in the hell are you gonna have the guy who created the store and is the main star of the show? How are you gonna have him like basically be out of the picture, and not do it? Come on now. He'll probably be back in a few episodes, whatever. But like I said, I don't give two flying fucks about the show. I don't care about it. I don't want to see it. Like I said, if I wanted to see something like that, I'll take a plane and I'll go back home and I'll check that shit out in person. All right. But anyways, let's move along to the people who basically use the Bible as basically cherry picking from the old, basically from the Bible to what they want to their hatred. Like, why are you going to use a book that was made thousands of years ago as your quote unquote your morals or values? I mean, and but see, with them, right, the people that are like, oh, homosexuality is wrong because J Bus said so. Praise J Bus. because it's in the Old Testament. But yet you bring up other stuff in the Old Testament, such as stoning your children to death. I don't quite see anybody doing that. I'm pretty sure you would get thrown in jail if you did that. How about the no eating shellfish? I'm pretty sure a lot of you probably do eat shellfish. And what do you know? That tells you not to do that in the Old Testament. How about this? Something you probably will definitely disagree with. A lot of you, at least a lot of you will. But incest is in there as well. I mean, do you really think it's okay to have slaves? I mean,
But you know what you were saying about shellfish, and how they must eat them. They're very selfish, aren't they? To be honest, the stuff that they
yeah,
say,
yeah, like
and
they're
that
not
wasn't
supposed to
like
eat, like you're not supposed to eat shellfish. Like they're not supposed to. But yet I am pretty damn sure that a majority of them do.
yeah,
But
that was
the minute you bring that up, they're like, oh, that's just Old Testament. That's just Old Testament. Well, homosexuality is in the Old Testament as well. So, which do you want?
But when he
So,
says about incest, you know what I've always thought? If they say Adam and Eve was like the first people and they must have had to have breeded to make more humans, then they must have had to have had sex with their siblings, would have had to have had sex and
yeah,
to continue. So it
yeah.
doesn't
I mean,
make any
it
sense.
doesn't make any sense. I know it really doesn't make any sense. People are like, oh, we all came from Adam and Eve. Well, then technically we would all be doing incest then.
Yeah, we would
That's kind
technically.
of sick, dude. That's kind of sick to think. But I mean, how can they?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, how can they explain? Okay, if we all quote unquote came from Adam and Eve, okay, how do we have other racists? Other racists. I mean, how do we have Asians? Did they just magically come out of nowhere? What about people from Africa? What about European? What everybody? Where the fuck did we all come from?
Exactly.
Makes no sense. Okay, and really, I mean, how do they explain those people? I mean, it sure as hell does not. It explains like maybe other languages. I remember other languages is explained in the Bible, due to we used to all speak one language, quote unquote, one language, and then like all of a sudden when they tried to build the tower to heaven, supposedly God made them all like speak different languages and da 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 da. I mean, really, wouldn't we all pretty much be the same exact race? I mean, they don't stop and think
Exactly.
about that. Okay, if Adam and Eve started as being one race, wouldn't we all just be one race? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's the thing, and I was gonna bring up something, basically like the different races and everything. It's like how is it possible? Like if they were white, they're meant to be white. How
yeah,
how is it possible that they've like you said, we've got you know blacks, we've got Japanese, we've got all
Asian,
sorts of different.
Mexican,
It just
all
doesn't.
this. It doesn't make sense.
And how would they get across seas? How would they manage to be in different locations?
Yeah,
And that's another thing.
magically appear there. That's why
You
I don't
know,
get. But basically, with those people that they basically using a old book that's full of bullshit to justify their hatred. They don't want to come out and say, "Oh, they're a racist." Now, of course, yes, there are some, such as people that are in the KKK and the skinheads and neo Nazis and whatever. Of course, they will straight up come out and say, "Yes, they're racist." You know what? I give more respect to the Westboro Baptist Church over those people who are quote unquote Christians who basically are bashing homosexuality and say it's wrong. I give more respect to the Westboro Baptist Church because at least they have the balls to come out and sit there and say this or that. That's why I have more respect for the KKK. I have more respect for skinheads and neo Nazis than you as a fucking person coming out and fucking saying, "Oh, it's just because the Bible said so. Because the Bible said so." Oh, the Bible
because
says
it's more like a like kind of I'm gonna be a fucking sheep, and I'm just going to listen and follow everything that the Bible tells me, and at least these people, you know, they're not trying to find stupid shit, to try and, like you said, justify things. Then maybe there are a lot of stupid shit, for the KKK to come out like but
Yeah.
at least they're not using it from a fucking old,
Exactly. They're like, actually, they will actually come out and say they are racist. But most people who are against, homosexuality and they use it towards the Bible, they're gonna be like, oh, I'm not racist, but the Bible says homosexuality is wrong. So that
Well,
means you're
I don't
racist
see
towards.
how I don't see how it's wrong because I'm gonna have like a little ramble here. Now they say God, is a perfect almighty being, and I was looking at this thing called intelligent design and how everything is really complicated, that there must be
Yeah.
an intelligent designer, that being God. Now if God's, if everything's so perfect as they say, then, you know, who's to, say what is and isn't perfect anyway? I mean, you know, if everything was perfect as in the Bible says it is, then why would people, and they can't say it's a choice, because why would people just choose and say, oh, I all of a sudden want to just be gay,
Yeah,
I'm going to
exactly.
choose to
You can't
be
just,
gay. They
you can't
wouldn't do
just
that.
Yeah, you can't wake up one day and say, you know what? I've been having pussy for so many years. You know what? I'm gonna try me some dick today.
No, you
Yeah,
don't do that.
yeah, exactly. You ask most anybody who knows anybody who is homosexual, bisexual, whatever. Ask them when they knew they were gay. And they're not going to say, "Oh, when they were, a teenager." They're going to talk about when they were very, very, very little. We're talking like 4 or 5. Like they knew something. They knew they were different. And then you have some people that believe they were not born the correct gender. They feel like they're more female.
Or
They
they
feel like
feel like,
you know
like
or,
some people. Go on. I'll talk about mine
yeah,
in a
or
bit.
like people, like they like people that are like transgender. They don't feel like they are like, this man doesn't feel like they're a man. They feel more like they are a woman. you know
Or you get like people who want to be a man, but then sometimes they want to be a woman. It's kind of like a cross-dresser situation
yeah,
where
yeah,
they have
yeah,
like
yeah.
a feminine side, but
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
And there's some people, there's not all people who are cross dressers oh, they're cross dresser, oh, they're gotta be homosexual, gotta be
no,
homosexual.
there's a
There's
different
cross
meaning.
dressers that are male that still date females.
Yeah,
You know?
this is the thing. A definition of a cross-dresser is a guy who dresses as a woman,
Yeah,
or a woman who dresses as a guy.
yeah,
There's no, like, in that definition it doesn't say, oh, and they also like, men, or if they're a woman they also like women. No, that's a completely different thing. There's a
yeah,
difference between sexuality and your interest of, what you want to do in your own time. And
yeah, exactly.
some
And then,
people who cross dress, or people who have the sex change or any of that, it can, you know also be to do with many reasons. Like he says, it can be like they feel like they're trapped in the opposite sex, or some people who cross dress that don't have the operation.
yeah,
It can be emotional problems. Some people say it's a
yeah,
way of relieving stress or things like that.
yeah,
There are plenty of reasons why people do these
exactly.
things, but homosexuality is not a fucking choice, and anyone who says that, fucking hell, how can it be a choice? Think about it. With these people live their whole life
Yeah,
wanting
exactly.
something they
And
don't want.
they know
Well,
the
having
hardship.
something they don't want.
They
No,
know they know the hardship in which it comes with the territory. There's a great film that actually I seen on YouTube, where basically the roles are completely switched, where like the whole world, where homosexuality is like a normal thing, but being straight is what homosexuality is. Like the roles were switched. It's a very good, very touching
but
movie.
how would it work? Because how would they reproduce? You know,
it's like about 20 minutes long. Um, I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, you basically they like if lesbians were to, like these two women were lesbians, they go to the sperm bank, they get some sperm, inject
oh,
them.
stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Or are two gay males will have a woman carry one of their children, as kind of like a servient. Like it even happens in straight people where, like, say for instance, one of the two people can't reproduce, right? And they really want children. They may ask, like, this person, to carry this person's child to them, and then they basically look up that child once it's born. Like it happens even in straight people, as well as gay people. That's pretty much how it works. And funny thing is, it's actually proven that people that are gay are actually better parents than straight parents. This is like study. There's been very recent study on
Because
this.
let's look at it this way: gay people wouldn't be able to just have kids, and because people these days don't use protection, or they
Yeah,
do, or it splits the condom or whatnot,
yeah,
then most people are like, I don't want the kid, it just happens.
yeah.
But then gay people, if they want the kid,
They
they
have really
they
want it, and
yeah
they have to fight
they
for it. Or they'll adopt, children. Even through that process, it's very hard. Because the stereotype of which comes with, you know, And no, gay parents do not make gay children, as some people will think. No. Like I've seen the studies, and I've seen people talk. We're talking. This is like an adult male. He talked about he had two female, two mothers, and he turned out completely 100% straight. There's quite a bit of people. There was MTV did True Life. Okay, and MTV a while back they did the True Life called My Two Gay Parents. Anyway, where they followed three different parents. Two of them were guys that had a daughter. There was two women who had a male son. And it showed what goes on with that and everything, and all these kids were straight. There was none that were gay, so on and so forth. So to sit there and say that gay parents breed gay children is completely myth.
I
You
do
know,
think it's a genetic
yeah,
thing
it
that
is.
can happen. It can
Yeah,
be where the female genes kind of, you know, get mixed with the male genes,
yeah,
or
and
it
it's
could
actually
also,
more. It's actually more predominant. Like the more children you have, like like the more likely they are to will be gay. It's a very high probability. You know.
it's because it's also to do with what I've read upon, that it's to also stop overpopulation. So, if there's, let's say, I don't know, there's a lot of people, as you know, like China, for instance, that's
Yeah.
pretty overpopulated. It's to
Yeah.
stop things like that, because, it that's one less person that's capable of, well, he's capable, but he wouldn't basically, reproduce, or
Yeah.
like you said, if gay people want to have a kid, but it's
But
it's to
forced
stop
effort.
overpopulation, you
Yeah.
know, and there are other reasons that I can say that will go against that. That will definitely make Christians be like, you know, they wouldn't know what to say to it, and
Yeah.
everyone will say this. If it's a choice, and animals don't work by choice, they work by instinct, and
Yeah.
they're not like us. They can't think like us, but
They engage in
animals,
homosexual acts as well. I mean,
exactly.
it's proof. There's actual legitimate proof out there that quite a few breeds of animals will have gay sex. It's true. And you people can't deny that it doesn't happen. I mean, it's so what? So are they quote unquote sinning now? You know?
I mean, I taught more on gay subjects more
Yeah.
because my stepbrothers, homosexual, and it's kind of interesting when you know someone and you've been brought up with someone, who is, homosexual, and
Yeah.
he's had
I have
problems.
family. I have family
And
members. I have family members that are gay. And I'm perfectly fine with that.
yeah, I am too. But he's had problems with people, and he finds it difficult. He found it difficult to open up, but I
Yeah.
respect him.
That's why a
And
lot of them. That's why a lot of them still stay in the closet even today. It shouldn't be, a big thing. Like this so and so celebrity is gay, like, and they come out of the closet now, and like, why are we making this a big deal? It should not be a big deal. You know.
should not be a big deal at all.
Yeah.
People should just instead, because this makes it even worse when people go on about it. Should
Yeah.
be People should just be like, all right then, he's gay, well done. Everyone live on with their life. It's not a big deal.
Exactly. It's not your life to live. I mean, how is them committing, their homosexual acts in their fucking own house or their own room? How does that affect your life? It affects your life in no way, shape, form, or fashion. I mean, does that really affect your walk with God? Because he's not, he's unnatural and he's a homosexual.
Everything that we talked about, it's just
Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah.
It does make you think of what's going on in the world when
Yeah. Well,
what
let's end the show on that note, and we'll see you guys next time. This is the Metal God 66 signing out, telling you guys keep it metal.
and
Now I'm
you
out.
guys keep it metal too. I'll see you later.